Welcome back to Midlife Mayhem, the podcast all about the beautiful chaos of midlife. I'm Kim Branham, RN, BSN, and owner of Thin Space Wellness, and this is my dear friend, Carrie Rosenberger. So we are back. Most of you who got to listen to the podcast last week probably heard Carrie talk about what she does and how she helps women with relationships, with specifically narcissistic relationships. And it was such a great podcast. So if you haven't heard that, please go back and check it out. I really
Thanks.
love that one. So today we are going to talk about Carrie's experience with Thin Space Wellness. Carrie's been a longtime friend of mine, known each other for about 25 years. We were initially neighbors and reconnected right when I was starting the company with Steven, Thin Space Wellness, at Costco, of all places.
I know.
Yeah.
Shopping and
Yeah.
getting way too much.
Yeah, for sure. So we reconnected and she filled me in about her new venture and what she was doing, which is what we talked about last week. And then she called and we started talking about ways that we could help her with some of her midlife stuff that she was dealing with. And she's kind enough to share some of those experiences. So can you tell us a little bit about why you wanted to work with us and what your
first
experience
of all,
was?
we love Kim.
Aw, thank you.
She's
I
always
love
so
you.
sweet, so supportive, and just amazing. But for me, I never had a weight issue when I was younger. I was kind of slender, always an athlete, running. And then once I hit my 40s, it just started creeping on. I think I did my last marathon around 42. And then it just started gaining more weight. I started getting hip issues. And then I just put on like 60 pounds. It was terrible. And with the stresses of midlife, of always the juggling, getting my kids here, going there, just there's a lot of stresses that happen. We all think that it's easier when your kids get older versus little. I think it gets harder.
Yeah,
Just the
more places you have to
there's
be,
just so
for
much
sure.
more
Yeah.
juggling, I think, especially if they're involved in sports. So anyway, when I put on that weight, I would try every diet. I would try going clean. I would try not eating. I would do this. And I never lost, like, I might be happy if I lost 2 pounds. And it was depressing. It was terrible, Kim. So when Kim and I got talking, I was like, oh, this might be what I really need. And it was. I've dropped like 60 pounds. I feel great about myself. I'm walking on an average 20,000 steps a day. But not only that, working with Kim, we really worked on my mindset because diets are one thing, but if you don't change your mindset, it's not going to happen as well.
Yeah.
And so working with Kim and getting the positive feedback is really, I really learned I'm an emotional eater. I was a sugar person, very wanting my sugar, that sugar fix. So really, I had to change my mindset, but also change my patterns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Do you
for
want to? I
sure.
mean, that's just part of it. But
Yeah.
it's hard and the stresses. And I found when I had high stress, my cortisol was high. So you can add to that with high cortisol. I probably wasn't burning things as much. My stomach was getting thicker.
Yeah. Yeah. And so with Carrie, we did Tirzepatide injections. She's been extremely successful on that. And it makes me so happy to see you beaming. I mean, you always beam, like even when we first reconnected again. But just to see you like every month when we get together,
Yeah.
it's like a different person. And you just seem so
It
much
just
lighter
you just
all the way
feel so
around.
good. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like this is where I'm at now. I would have loved to have always been there
Yeah.
because that's what I was when I was younger,
Well, and that's how I feel. Like I didn't know that it would be possible to be feeling the way that I am right now. Like I feel better in my 40s than I ever did in my 30s or 20s even. And I didn't know it was possible. So
Yeah, and also one thing to add, after losing the weight, I'm almost 60. I only have like 6 more months.
I know, first of all, can you believe that she's
Uh,
almost 60?
I'm
Like
almost
amazing.
60 and my energy is, losing the weight, walking on the exercise, eating clean. It doesn't I still eat my sweet treats, but I've changed it to like yogurt bars that are 100. instead of the pint of Ben and Jerry's ice cream that
The
are
whole thing.
3,000.
The whole thing, yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So, oh my God, it's good, but it's not
Yeah.
worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
But to have that energy, and I'm not on anything else, right? I mean, I take a vitamin B pill, like my vitamin, but we all can have that. And it's really learning to lose the weight and help with Kim. And Kim's always so positive, you know, she makes you feel comfortable. Cause I don't know about you all, but being a slender person when I was younger and putting on 60 pounds, I was embarrassed. It was felt really awkward, didn't want to talk about it, felt shameful. It brought some shame. I felt uncomfortable in my body, not comfortable in my skin. And one thing I loved working with Kim is she makes you feel so comfortable. Like, you know, you don't feel embarrassed. And she has that nurturing and that caring, which you really need when you're going through this transition. It just gives you the icing on the cake, right? To have that extra support that pushes you through. Because when I first started, I wasn't losing weight right away. And and that was getting discouraging. And then it just started, you know, coming off. But I also think the reason it worked well for me is because I really added exercise. It wasn't like just the shots, eat garbage, and then expect to lose weight. I made the whole transition, do the shots, change my diet, incorporate exercise in a lot, and sticking with it.
Yeah. And I appreciate you saying that so much because I am so passionate about partnering with our patients. Like there's so
You
many
are.
people who ask, you know, like, well, what makes you guys different than like ordering online or finding some company on
Right.
Facebook that sells semaglutide tablets or something? And the biggest difference is the support. I'm not comfortable giving somebody medications
Right.
or, you know, Stephen doing that without knowing that we're talking and how they're
Mhm.
doing and how they're feeling and what they're changing and, you know, how their life is transitioning. Because our goal is realistically to have people on the shots the least amount of time possible. And when they come off, have them be successful long term.
Mhm.
So I appreciate that a lot because I
It's
just love
huge,
talking to
though. It's
people.
huge, Kim, because I went before you, I went to a spa and before that, and I started the shots, but I felt like it was like, next, okay, here's your shots. And they talk to you for not even 5 minutes out. When I was with you, we would be like our conversation, diving in, what's working, what's not. And so it's night and day
Yeah.
from my experience, you know, and that's what's so wonderful about what you're doing is because there's such a compassion in the way you and Steven just truly care about people that
Mhm.
makes people feel really loved. And it also gives me more motivation to
Mm.
do it. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And
I
then
love
to
that.
go. And what I loved the first time is when I had to get on the scale, I was like, I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
No,
Just don't
don't
tell
tell
me.
me. Don't
Put
tell
in the
me.
computer, don't tell me.
And then after a few months, I was like, I don't want to see it. And then
Yeah.
you're like, oh, you dropped 12 or whatever. And I was like, and that was good. So for me, I didn't want to hear that feedback every month because I knew my track record wasn't good.
Right.
And then the way you
Well, you had a
handled that
slow
was
start. Like,
perfect.
you know,
Yeah.
some people do. And you're
Mhm.
such a great example of that because I remember it being like the first 4 months
It's like hardly anything.
where you had hardly lost anything. But
Yeah.
realistically, with the injections,
Hmm.
they balance the body first before you'll
Hmm.
see the weight loss. And some
Hmm.
people, not a lot of
Hmm.
people, but you know, so some people, it's easy to get frustrated and to give up because it's not inexpensive
Yeah.
to be on the medications. Like, and we
Oh,
realize that, you know.
yeah.
So when you're on it in 3 months, you don't see much weight loss. It's like, why am I doing this? But
Hmm.
you're a prime example of just like patience and trusting the process.
Right.
And because you've done great with it.
And you are great at reassuring me with that. But I think it's also important anybody questioning, do I do it or don't find out. If you aren't dropping the weight quickly, don't get on the scale every day and beat yourself up
Yep.
because I know that's what I did when I was doing diets. Oh my gosh, what I always tried to go clean, don't do this. And then I'd get on the scale and get on the scale. And then I just would beat
Hmm.
myself up and take, take it out on me that what's wrong with me.
Yep.
And so I think what's great is you teaching patience in consistency, because with this, you got to have consistency, and also lifestyle changes. Whereas I went to a spa before, they didn't talk about any of that. It was, here's your shot.
Yeah.
Okay, step on the scale again. Here's your shot. Okay, see you. It literally 5 minutes in and out, no discussion.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is huge, because if we need lifestyle changes, that's what we have to do to make, a difference in our life.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what you all bring to this, to help us and guide us that direction.
Oh, thank you for saying that, because it really, that's our goal. That's what we want. Carrie also is sweet enough that she has trusted me with her sweet face, and she's okay. You're okay with sharing this. Okay.
Totally.
Asked her before, just want to reassure.
Yeah.
But so we've done, some Botox.
And I'm always careful. I'm like, I want to look natural. I don't want the filler. Like, I don't want the, I guess the certain fillers. And so Kim is really good, because I'm very, very, this is stuff I did not do in my 40s, not even my early 50s. So I was always probably very cautious. I want to look natural, and I don't mind having some wrinkles because I'm almost 60. I don't want to look like I'm 20. And so with that, she made me feel comfortable, first of all.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Which is huge.
Yeah, and it really, what I appreciate so much about Carrie is she's a very slow transition person, which I learned very quickly. And some people are not. So I'm not a very slow transition person. Like if I'm going to see a change or do something, I want to go big or go home. So,
and I'm the opposite. I'm like, little step, little step, little step.
Yeah. And so it's been so great to learn that about you, though. And so with that, we were able to do aesthetic treatments for her that everything that we do looks very natural. Like nothing, we don't produce anything that's artificial. Right. However, there are things that take a little bit longer to work. Like she chose to do Sculptra instead of dermal fillers. And so Sculptra is a biostimulator that's injected under the skin, and it stimulates your own collagen. And here's Barry again.
Once again, how did he open the door?
He's like the size of a human.
Move.
But so the Sculptra is a biostimulator that stimulates your body to recreate its own collagen. So the structures in the face, especially with Carrie's weight loss, that cause the fat pads to dissipate, makes everything just kind of hang. Gravity takes its toll. And so when you replace that scaffolding underneath the skin with either dermal fillers or the Sculptra, it's going to build back up, and everything just gets lifted and tacked back to where it should be without looking artificial. Yeah. That makes sense. And we talked about this in 2 podcasts ago.
And it was really natural, because as I have a thin face anyway, and so losing weight, it gets, very slender. And so it gave me more, it just fullness, that it was definitely very natural looking.
Yeah.
And I was comfortable with it.
So if this helps you with a visual of what Sculptra is, it was originally created for patients that were going through AIDS treatments, and they were very cachectic. So their skin, just everything was very gaunt. So it was created to go in and fill in those spaces so that they didn't look as gaunt. It filled in the scaffolding. And so now we're using it for aesthetic purposes. And Carrie's before and after pictures we took of immediately before, immediately after. It's amazing. We use water, sterile water, to inject the solution, and then it resorbs in the body over a day or 2. And so she had this beautiful result after the first day, and then it goes away. Right? And so it's knowing that with Sculptra, you get that treatment done, you're going to look great for 2 days, then all of a sudden it's going to look like you did nothing. And then it's 3 treatments that you have to have for the Sculptra, and they're about 6 weeks apart. And then after about 6 months is when you see the true results. So Carrie had to be very patient and wait for the collagen regrowth to happen.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, she was good with that.
I'm okay with simple steps.
Yeah, so it's been amazing to see that journey for her. And then over the next 1 or 2 years from her last treatment, she'll do touch-up vials of Sculptra that will help the collagen to continue to be stimulated to grow. So that was the alternative to doing the dermal fillers and coming in and being injected with dermal filler that's instant gratification. And then, you don't have to wait that 6-month period. But I'm so glad you did Sculptra, because it looks beautiful.
Yeah. And I loved it because it was a slower change for me.
Yeah.
For me, big changes right away, I'd be like, woo.
Yeah.
It would just be too much for me.
Yeah.
And that's just who I am.
Yeah.
Everybody's different. But Kim does, just when you sit in her chair, you're just very comfortable, and you get to hold that little thing so you don't get so nervous.
Well, especially the new chair.
Oh, yes. And the new fancy chair. Have you seen that?
It is very comfortable.
It's very fancy too.
But it means so much that I really can't thank you enough for your trust in me. And with the weight loss, with the facial aesthetics, I mean, my patients trusting me with their sweet faces, especially when somebody finds me on Google and they call me to make an appointment, they end up doing like dermal fillers or something big time that day. I'm just like so honored because that takes a lot of trust.
That does.
And you're just like reading somebody's resume on their website and then you're coming and sitting in their chair. Like I will never take that for granted. So thank you for trusting me.
Well, you're just, Kim, you just make everybody feel so comfortable, and that's why we love you.
Oh, you're so sweet. And I'm a really good example today. I was telling Carrie I did a chemical peel. So I'm a great example of beauty this morning, but that's okay. It'll look better in about a week.
And one thing that's also good is sometimes you just need a little touch up, and you can just go to Kim and get that little touch up. If there's like something, if you just need a little bit more here or a little bit more there,
yeah,
for balancing. But I think it's wonderful. This is all part of self-care, right? And something that we talked about, self-love and self-care, and doing things that make you feel good, and also losing the weight. I'm going to get into the other health side. It's better for your heart. It's better for your body. It's, just mental health goes hand in hand with it.
Yep.
And so if anybody's wondering if they should do it, I would just say, give Kim a call. And it really changed my whole life around for how I was feeling about myself as 50 versus almost 60. It's night and day.
Yeah.
It's huge.
I'm so proud of you. And it makes me so happy because I remember when I first met you.
Yeah.
Carrie would run through our neighborhood.
Oh, I was running miles and miles.
I was doing marathons, but I was not running like her. But I was just like, I want to be that. Like, I just looked up to you so much. Like, you were always out there running. I was just like amazed. And you were so just energetic.
I loved running.
Well, and I'm so happy to see you back to like feeling really good in your own skin, because that's always the example that I had, was seeing you running around like a crazy woman in the neighborhood.
Yeah, well,
she's amazing.
I did. It was like the bunny, Energizer bunny. Yeah. People used to call me, never stop, never stop. But I think what a big takeaway is that the energy I have today versus how I was in my early 40s when I was doing that running, I find very compatible, versus when I let myself go in my 50 from midlife stress, hormonal changes. I think hormonal changes was probably another big change of why I put on weight too when I went on that. So I think these things are important to, I thought somebody was coming up the driveway. But I think these are important to also be aware of. Would you add any of that with hormonal? Because you do some of that too.
Yeah, 100%. So a lot of times people will come to us initially for weight loss, and we do some digging because we want to find what the root cause is. So whether it's emotional, whether it's, having just an unhealthy relationship with food, or hormonal imbalances, like we really want to address those. So it starts with the weight loss, and then we'll end up, for a lot of women, looking at their hormone panels and then deciding to treat or not. Like, some people do the hormone panels and they decide not to treat, and that's totally up to them. But the ones that do typically are extremely happy that they did. And I'm glad that it seems like you got through your hormonal period unscathed, right?
Yeah,
you made it out on the other side.
I think it was worse in the beginning when you're starting to go through the hormonals, and then once it's all stops, it's glory. It's wonderful.
Yeah. And it's
life is easy.
With the hormone replacement therapy, I get calls quite frequently from our patients that are even in like into their 60s and 70s. And, I'm too old for that. No, you're not. You're never too old for it. So you can always, if you're not feeling good, we can always look at what's causing that underlying issue of not feeling good. Whether it's hormones or whether it's a dietary thing. Like, some people have like dietary issues where they might have an allergy to a food they don't realize. So it's as easy as food sensitivity test, it's, so we do a lot of things to really get to the root issue with people's problems beyond the weight loss. I mean, the weight loss needs to happen for some people, but, So
one thing you introduced me to also was LDN. And that was because even on the shots towards the end of the week, I'd start getting the cravings again.
Mhm.
And that was something I thought was very beneficial. However, I have to have as little dosage.
Yeah, yeah,
Everybody's different. My body is just a little bit more sensitive sometimes to
yep.
medicine. But I thought that was great too. I don't
Yeah,
know
and
if
that's
you're
a
still.
really great treatment, for
Mhm.
people. So on
Also, it
the
helps with not wanting red wine anymore
yeah, it's
for a lot
crazy,
of
right?
people. Mhm.
Yeah, so the low dose naltrexone is called LDN, and it's a tablet that people take at night. Um, it really is miraculous for people who have hit plateaus with their weight loss, whether it's using the injections, the
Mhm.
GLP-1s, or if they're just dieting and,
Mhm.
trying to change their nutritional patterns. But it really can help curb your appetite. It really helps enhance what the shots are already doing. So it almost mimics what the shots do. And so if you've not heard about the shots or have not learned about them, and I know you know this from experience, but it
Right.
delays gastric emptying, so you stay full longer, and it blocks receptor in your brain so that you don't have all the food noise. And it's not specific to just food noise. It kind of quiets the brain. It quiets the anxiety, all the ticker tapes that women have. And so the LDN will do that on a smaller level, but when it's added to the shots, it really helps people get through plateaus. We do have people that when they come off of the injections, when they get to their goal weight, that they'll go on the LDN just to help maintain their weight loss, and then they come off of it. And some of that is just like a little bit of just a crutch because it's nerve wracking
Mhm.
and scary, right? To think
Mhm.
about losing that weight and then coming off the shot when people rely on it. So we try to help them transition healthily, and that's been a really good tool.
Yeah, it was. I definitely felt a difference. It just took me a
Hmm.
couple weeks to get used to.
Yeah.
You
And
know.
that's pretty typical. Yeah. Stephen and I tried it just to see how it felt in our bodies. And
Right.
it was about 3 weeks where I was just like,
Yeah.
I don't really know that I feel much. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, I was sleeping through the night like solid as a rock. And I would wake up feeling like $1,000,000. And that hadn't
Mhm.
happened in a long time. My sleep, as people know from this, with me doing my
Mhm.
2:30 in the morning podcast. I don't sleep great all the time, um, but what it does is the LDN was initially used for opioid and alcohol addiction
Mhm.
at high doses. And so at low doses, what it does is that little bit just blocks a receptor, the opioid receptor in the brain, and it pops off in the middle of the night sometime, and it causes this rush of endorphins. And so when you wake up, you just feel great.
Mhm.
And that helps with weight loss and wellness just in itself, because when you feel good, wake up feeling good, you typically have a better day.
Mhm.
You want to work out, you want to eat healthier and care for your body. So anyway, I love it. I could talk about that stuff all
Yeah, and
day.
it's great. And when Ken mentioned that, I did a lot of, I always have to figure out what I'm taking and research more. And one thing I also learned about it, besides, from addition to what Kim says too, is it helps regulate your nervous system.
Mm,
And
we talked
and
about that. Yeah.
yeah, and for anybody that's coming out of a toxic relationship, we live in those toxic relationships with our nervous system deregulated, right? And that's why we go into PTSD, the flight, fight, fawn, those modes. So it's another thing on top of it, especially if you are working through some trauma that might be beneficial, but it's definitely something to talk to your psychiatrist
Hmm.
about from that perspective also,
Yeah.
you know.
And it's when we were talking for the
Mhm.
last episode about that like addiction of
Right.
like being with in an unhealthy relationship, narcissism. Please go watch it if you haven't, and this will make a lot more
Yeah.
sense. But when you were talking about that, it crossed my mind. I was like, I wonder how even the
Mhm.
GLP-1s would impact people because GLP-1s are being studied right now for addiction, anxiety, for alcoholism, so many things like addictive behaviors. And I just wonder, I'd be so
Huh, that'd
interested,
be interesting
even
to know more.
LDN, is like a smaller
Yeah.
dosage for the body. Yeah.
Because I think one thing that's with the LDN, talking on the trauma point, sometimes when people get antidepressants, definitely people need it, but sometimes it numbs our emotions and we don't work through it. The great thing with the LDN is that it regulates your nervous system and you're working through it,
Hmm.
so we can work through it. Um, and I don't know in depth, but those are just a few little things when I
Yeah.
was just reading about it,
No, that's
to,
such a good
to add to
point.
it.
Yep, because it is
Yeah.
like just this exposed nerve, and when you can regulate the nervous system and
Yes,
really like
it's
work through
huge.
things, yeah, it's
And then
tremendous.
shrink your amygdala because that gets so oversized, and that's what takes us into the fear because overrides your frontal cortical, like I can't even talk, where our reasoning is. So, there's just so many benefits.
Yeah.
So I love that you introduced that to me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm like, that was really good for me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys listening again. And this probably is not the last time that you'll see Carrie again. She'll probably be featured quite a bit. But if you guys have questions, please reach out. My email address is kim@thinspacewellness.com. And I'm going to put Carrie's information in the show notes as well. But if you have any questions, if you need help finding a provider, we're currently in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Colorado. We can help people through telehealth calls in those 3 states, if you're residing in those states, and then we can ship medication to you if it's appropriate for your journey. But Stephen brought up a good point last week after I did the podcast. He was like, "You said we could only do North Carolina, South Carolina, and Colorado," and he was like, "You're a wellness coach. You can coach anybody."
You can coach anybody.
And I was like, "Duh!" Like,
you can go international for that.
Yeah. So for clarification, because that's what Carrie does. She works with women who have been through traumatic relationships, had relationships with narcissists, just about breaking through and making some permanent change. She does that worldwide. So if you need help, I'm happy to work with you as a wellness coach. We can do that through our telehealth calls. We just wouldn't be able to ship medication outside of North Carolina, South Carolina, and Colorado. But
if they come visit you here in North Carolina, you can ship
that's
it,
true.
right?
That's true. If I see them, yeah.
Okay.
So, but if you need help, if you're in another state and you truly are interested in medications that would help your wellness journey, I'm happy to help you find some of my colleagues that I can refer you to. So reach out. Thank you for listening. And thank you, Carrie, for joining us and being so transparent always, because your experience will help so many people just understand better how they can get a grasp on their help like you did.
Well, you helped me so much. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yay.
Love it.
Hugs.
All right. Take care and
Bye.
have a great week. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.